to subscribe to my channel, like the video, and leave a little or long comment. I love chatting with you guys. It feels like I'm not just talking to the air. And I also wanted to thank my lovely patrons who make these videos possible for me. Thank you so much. I have been feeling really down lately. I'm getting out of breath a lot easier than usual. The air quality has been awful, and we need some real good rain to wash it all away. But for now, it just feels like I'm inside a burning house without the fire. What am I saying? Anyway, if you wanted to fall asleep to this madness, please, right now, lay back, relax, and just listen. Cause God knows that everywhere in the world, and every one of us have a hard time right now for different reasons. And we just have to deal with it, cause it is not easy for anyone. But especially it wasn't easy for the people that I'm going to talk about tonight. These people, as harsh as it sounds, makes you feel way better about your situation. This first article really got my attention because it's about a case that we've been following now for, has it been 2 months maybe? And that is the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, or her murder, and this singer named David. And this article finally says that authorities have named David as a suspect now. Like, that's been crazy to us, how long it took to name him as a suspect. But I'm sure they had their reasons. The article that I want to read for you, to you, is from people.com. It is titled, "Investigators Believe David had help dismembering and disposing of teen's body." So now for the first time I'm hearing this straight, that she was dismembered, because I wasn't sure. Some places said it, but I don't think it was said like this previously. That yes, she was found dismembered in the trunk of a Tesla car that belonged to David. This article was published on November 19. The article reads, "Singer David has been deemed a suspect in connection with the death of Celeste Hernandez, and a police source is speaking out about how authorities believe is connected to the case." Yes, we all knew that already. That they were probably together since she was maybe even 11. And at the time of her death, she was 14. And this singer is 20. And he mentioned a lot of weird SHIT in his songs that sounded like he had murdered someone or was planning on doing so, and referencing Celeste at sometimes even directly. So the article says the police source alleges that the 20-year-old singer, whose real name is David Anthony Berg, most likely had help dismembering and disposing of the body. Now, what we thought is correct, I think, that they know that this went deep and it wasn't just a one-person thing, and they had to make sure to have all their evidence straight and fixed before they got into it, because now they have to go after multiple people, and this is very deep, and it is going to take a while for it to get figured out or get justice. The article continues. The source also claims that while Berg has not been charged with a crime, he has not been cooperative in the investigation. Interesting. Till now, they've been saying that the actor has been cooperative, but I guess that was mainly from his defense or his side. But now the investigators or a source from them is saying that he has not been cooperative. Maybe he stopped. Let me take a sip of water. So maybe he changed his mind and stopped even talking to the authority. And maybe that's why they're finally coming out and saying that he is a suspect. The article continues. The musician's representative previously told News that he was fully cooperating with authorities. See, it is always from the defense side when they say the perpetrator is being cooperative. They just say it. But police says that he has not been. The LAPD, David's lawyer and his rep didn't immediately respond when contacted by People for comment on November 19. It continues talking about how the crime happened, a recap of what this is all about. It says, on September 8th, Celeste was found dead in the trunk of the singer's impounded Tesla one day after her 15th birthday, while David was on tour in the US. The car was reported abandoned in the Hollywood Hills, and neighbors told police that it had been there for a month. And officers would go there and give it a ticket this is what happened, and throughout all this, the dismembered body of this poor girl is in the trunk in the hottest time of the year. So eventually there is a foul odor coming from the car or from the scene, and the officers are alerted about it. The article says her body was identified by LA County Medical Examiner, which listed her cause and manner of death as deferred, and it still stays as that. I don't know if they're ever going to find the answer to how she was exactly murdered or killed or passed away, since her body was decomposed for. Now they're thinking maybe a couple of months, maybe. The police source tells people that investigators are treating this like a homicide, and adds that the girl's body was decomposing when it was found in a plastic bag. The Riverside County Sheriff's Office said Celeste Rivas had been reported missing from Lake Elsinore, California, at least 3 times in 2024. And residents claimed that the teen had run away from home before, though her last known whereabouts remain unclear. There's been a video of her being near her home having fights with the neighbor's kids while she had been reported missing. I think this was a thing between her and her family, that when they had an argument, they would maybe threaten her to come back, or they're going to report her missing, but they would kind of talk again and she would pop in and out maybe. But yeah, this is a weird situation, both from this David guy, of course, and her family, because there's also been some evidence that showed that they knew that their daughter was with this older guy that was famous, and it just doesn't sound good. Nobody in this situation is looking good, neither David nor his friends and his Hollywood circle, not David's family, not Celeste's family. Nobody looks good in this situation. The article says LAPD Captain and Commanding Officer Scott M. Williams previously said that Celeste had been dead for several weeks prior to her body being discovered. He also confirmed that LAPD did serve a search warrant at a residence near where the car was towed on September 18. A landlord previously told news that David had been staying at an LA property with his manager, but that the two moved out days after, electronics and more were seized from the home. Williams, which was the captain of LAPD, the captain, I don't know, said that he cannot confirm what was taken from the property. Speculation has circulated online about the possibility that Rivas and the romantic homicide singer knew each other. The Los Angeles medical examiner previously confirmed that the teen had a tattoo on her right index finger, which appears to match one on David. So they have the same. And how odd is that? It's like, don't tell anybody we are committing crimes. However, authorities have not commented on the matching tattoos. They have barely said anything. Now, it has come out that they are looking into David and his circle as suspects. So that's good, at least it's not going cold for a second there, I thought. But how would that be possible? She was literally found in his car, and I'm sure Teslas have information saved on them about who drives them, maybe some videos, maybe CCTV showing who drove the car that day, and so much more evidence, years of evidence that they had to go through on his online presence, their online presence, everyone involved. So that is the David update for now. Now let's get into the next case. Now this one is an update about a case that happened last year, and there has been a conviction. It is from a website called CBS2Iowa.com and titled Man Convicted in Melody Hoffman's Murder Sentenced to Life in Prison. Published on November 14, 2025. So this happened in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Rapids. One of the men found guilty of murder in the death of Marian woman Melody Hoffman has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Victim impact statements were read by Melody's mother and father. Before reading her statement, Megan Hoffman, Melody's mother, could be seen placing a picture of Melody on the stand. She said, "You don't deserve the word human. Humans feel empathy. Humans know compassion, and humans value life. You have none of that. You are not human. You are a monster. But even monsters have names. Your name has already introduce the hair and then put a coat that is by his father. And then the article gives us some background on the case. Have you guys heard about this case, the murder of Melody Hoffman? I had not before this article. The article says Dakota Van Patten, DAKOTAVANPATTEN. I thought Dakota was only a girl's name, but this is a man who was found guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy to commit a forcible felony for the 2024 death of Melody Hoffman. Prosecutors say he helped McKinley Louisma kidnap and kill Hoffman, who was so apparently Melody was McKinley's ex-girlfriend. And McKinley and Dakota, they all have interesting names. McKinley and Dakota got together and conspired to kidnap and murder Melody, McKinley's ex-girlfriend. How awful. How scary. Investigators believe they killed her at Morgan Creek Park in Cedar Rapids, CEDAR RAPIDS, before dumping her body at Lily Pond in Amana. McKinley Louisma, Louisma, was convicted in December of last year and is currently serving his mandatory life sentence. So apparently things move fast in Iowa. That's good. Van Patten, Dakota, this other guy that helped him is getting the sentence now, or he got it already. The article says that Dakota Van Patten already requested a new trial, claiming his defense counsel was ineffective. No, you are ineffective as a human. The judge has not made a decision on that yet. A third suspect, Logan Kimpton, Kimpton, has his trial scheduled for December for his accessory charges. Interesting, so they are giving the trials depending on how aggressive their part in the crime was. At first they got the trial for the ex-boyfriend that came up with the idea, McKinley. They gave him the life sentence. Then the other guy that helped him in the actual kidnapping and murder, Dakota, they sentenced him now. And later they're gonna sentence another guy named Logan. is nuts. And that is the end of that article. But since after reading that article, since I hadn't heard of this case before, I decided to get an overview of it from ChatGPT. I sourced with the articles that it got the information from. So let's go through that and see what this crazy case that is now being, you can call it resolved. Justice has been served according to the law there. So let's see what actually happened. Who is Melody Hoffman? And why did these three men conspired and two of them went ahead and murdered the poor girl? It says Melody Hoffman was a 20-year-old woman from Marion, Iowa. And according to her mother, Melody had a mild intellectual disability, and prosecutors described her as having a mindset more like a 14 or 15-year-old. Now, how much worse does this make the killers look? It's like bullying someone to the end, to the end of their life. She lived with her mother, and her family used tracking apps on her phone to keep an eye on her for safety. On the night of February 17, 2024, Melody left her mother's home. She got into a car with McKinley Louisma, however you pronounce his last name, who had been in a romantic relationship with her on and off. Also involved was Dakota Van Patten, who prosecutors say helped Louisma. We already read about that. According to prosecution, the two men kidnapped her, bound her wrists, duct tape was used, and then took her to a park, Morgan Creek Park. How awful and terrifying. They literally tortured this poor girl. And for what exactly? Just to be a menace. Evil. And later, they strangled her with a paracord. Dear Lord. But they didn't stop at that, because that wasn't enough for them. She also suffered stab wounds, cutting, slash injuries, and there were many of those, and also blunt force trauma to her head. They literally went crazy. Two adult men decided to do this, and they did not stop at killing her. For a second there, when I heard about them getting weapons, I thought they were buying a gun, and I thought she was shot. But no, they didn't choose that. They decided to literally torture her and keep going after that. And then, as the article said, her body was left near a pond called Lily Lake. When her body was found, she was only partially clothed. Her clothes had been stripped or displaced. Her Apple Watch and phone data helped track movements before she disappeared, which was key for the investigation. In the trunk of Louis Ma's car, what was his name, McKinley, police recovered items like bungee cord, a towing rope, gloves, and clothing matching what Melody was wearing. Surveillance video from Walmart before the murder allegedly captured McKinley, Dakota, and that other man. What was his name? I wanted to say Morgan. Was it Logan? And another man buying machetes. Oh my god. And rubber gloves. The medical examiner testified that Melody died from ligature strangulation, and there were signs of hemorrhaging in her neck. She also had petechial hemorrhaging. Petechial, I've never heard that, which is small burst blood vessels in eyes and gums, which of course indicates strangulation, next to all the other things that did so. There were around, or exactly 30 cutting wounds, 5 stab wounds on her back side, and also defensive wounds to her hands, and bruises and contusions. Importantly, lab tests detected a hormone, HCG, in Melody's blood, which suggests she may have been pregnant, or at least was very recently. Was that why they did that? Did she decide to get rid of the baby and he heard about it, or was it the other way? Was she pregnant and wanted to keep it, and they were mindless animals and decided to do this? I don't know. How awful is this one? I kinda regret getting the details of it. Then it talks about the outcomes which we read about in the article. McKinley got life, first degree murder, first degree kidnapping, and conspiracy to commit a forcible felony. And then now Dakota Van Patten, he was also found guilty of first degree murder and all of the above. They both got life in prison without parole. prosecution's case painted the crime as premeditated, dehumanizing, and extremely violent. There was a lot of planning involved. But of course, as all killers are stupid, they did it in a way that shows they didn't even care about getting caught. Because obviously they had all the things in the car and she had all the tracking devices and they did it in a park. Idiots. Evil idiots. In victim impact statements, Melody's family described her as kind, caring, silly, and artistic, highlighting what was lost. How awful must have been for the family to hear the details of their passing. Prosecutors suggested a possible motive: pregnancy. The presence of HCG raises the theory that she was pregnant or had recently been, which could have played a role because of her vulnerability, her intellectual disability. The prosecution argued that she was easily manipulated, especially by McKinley. And they also talked about the brutality, machete, duct tapes, binding, and mutilation. It indicates this was more than a moment of rage, and prosecutors and I call it torture. The case has drawn attention to how technology, or the tracking apps that Melody's family mother specifically used to monitor her, literally moved this case forward that quick. That's what helped, I think. I was wondering how this all got resolved that quickly. But it doesn't take away from the grimness of the fact that she was a vulnerable individual that got caught in a manipulative and abusive relationship that ended with her life being taken in such a brutal and demonic way. Alright, that is most of the details of the case. How awful was that one? But that is all that I had to say for tonight. I hope this far into the video you're already asleep. And if you are, I hope that you are very lucid and in charge, and all that you see is of love and peace and restfulness, and nothing of all this craziness and madness that exists all around us. Thank you so much for being here and listening to me. And if you want more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to support me and my channel, please check out my Patreon. And there I have more ASMR videos like this, and some a little different and more personal life ASMR videos. And I will see you guys soon.